Okay, good evening. My name is Greg Marcos, and on behalf of the Canadian Middle Eastern Christian Congress, or Cmec, I would like to welcome you. We're all here to meet the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, the Honourable Andrew Scheer. We appreciate the leader coming here to connect with us. The Canadian Middle Eastern Christian Congress is a Canadian organization that advocates on behalf of Canadian Christians with a Middle Eastern background. We're a group of lay people from different denominations whose goal is to improve the lives of those not just from our community, but to improve the lives of all Canadians. I would like to recognize the founding members of Cmec who are present with us tonight. They are Ramsey Shanuda, Hani Taufilis, Rabia Alos, Christophe Chamas, and Nicholas Shuri. I have it on good authority that the Honourable Mr. Scheer will be arriving shortly, and I'm sure that we're all eager to hear him share his vision for Canada. While the Canadian Middle Eastern Christian Congress, or Cmec, is a Canadian organization that advocates on behalf of Canadians with a Middle Eastern background. Our mandate is to improve the lives of all Canadians, not just from our own community. So one of the things that is of great interest to us is the persecution of Christians. We have found that in some parts of the world, people are persecuted solely on the basis of their faith. And I'm sure I don't have to tell everyone in the room how important it is for people to be able to worship their God in their own fashion, in their own way, without fear of persecution. It is a topic that is very near and dear to our heart. This event is actually the launch of our organization. The organization is made up of 6 board members and many, many more members. But we have all in the past worked on an individual basis. So we've realized that for us to have a greater impact, we all need to work together. So we decided to combine all of our efforts and work together. And it is through that effort that I think we've made great strides. And one of the things that is very important to us is the ability to build bridges with other communities, faith-based or otherwise, because only by building bridges can we further understanding of each other and appreciation for all our points of view. I think that deserves some applause. Thank you. Please welcome the Honourable Mr. Andrew Scheer, Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Welcome. Please. No, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, please rise for the singing of the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome, Honourable Andrew Scheer. We are joined here tonight by Dr. Bishop Dada, Dr. Bishop Kingsley Osayande, Audrey Walters, and Kevin Jr. from the Baptist Church, Father Gawargiargos Girgis, representing Bishop Mina, Father Bishoy Salema, the parish priest of this church, St. Maurice and St. Verena, Father Bishoya Talla, Father Misaila Talla, Father John Sarkis, and Father Mityas Ibrahim from the Coptic Orthodox Church, Father Niaz Toma from the Chaldean Church, Pastor Judy Choi from the North York Chinese Baptist Church, and Mr. Neil McCarthy, the Director of Public Relations and Communications for the Archdiocese of Toronto. Welcome. Also with us is Bob Soroya, Member of Parliament for Markham Unionville, the Honourable Lisa Raitt, the Honourable Julian Fantino, and former members of Parliament Kostas Menegakis, C.S. Leung, Lois Brown, John Carmichael, and Joe Daniel, and Senator Asha Seth. Did I not mention Peter Kent? Oh, I'm sorry, the Honourable Peter Kent. Forgive me. And also with us tonight is Ontario PC candidate Ms. Daisy Way. And Michael Parsa. Hello, Michael. How are you? At this point, let's all congratulate the Honourable Andrew Scheer for being the new leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. It was an exciting, competitive race, and we want to thank all the candidates that ran for the leadership of the party. Their dedication to serve the country is an inspiration to us all. We have with us tonight one of the leadership candidates, the Honourable Lisa Raitt. Please give her a big round of applause. We are gratified to know that all the candidates have rallied behind their leader to unite the Conservative Party and to support a leader that can connect with Canadians from coast to coast. On May 28th, the morning after winning the exhausting leadership race, the Honourable Andrew Scheer, as his first official visit anywhere as leader of the opposition, visited the Chaldean Catholic Cathedral in Toronto. The Chaldean Catholic Church has faced severe persecution in the Middle East for years. The leader's visit demonstrated his commitment to freedom of religion, and for that we are extremely grateful. Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to thank Bob Soroya, the Member of Parliament for Markham Unionville. Thank you, Bob, for helping us arrange this event. He has done an amazing job in outreach and has worked tirelessly to serve this riding. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bob Soroya. Please come up, Bob.
Greg, thank you very much for the wonderful introductions. Your graces, bishops, reverend fathers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Soroya. I am the Member of Parliament for this riding of Markham Unionville, the riding right here. I have the honor of welcoming my friend Andrew Scheer, the new leader of Conservative Party, to my riding tonight. Andrew was first elected to the House of Commons in 2004. He was re-elected 5 times, and each time he had another child. Where is Ramsey here? He became the Speaker of the House of Commons in 2011 and was elected leader of our party back in May. He is a proud father of 5 beautiful children. As a father, parliamentarian, and a leader, Andrew knows that Canadian families want lower taxes and safe streets. Our Conservative team is working hard to show Canadians that our party can make life better for all Canadians. Andrew and our Conservative team work hard every day in Ottawa to hold the Liberals to account, and our efforts are working. I am proud to be a member of Andrew's team. Andrew, thank you for coming to my riding, and welcome to the GTA. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome leader of our party, Andrew Scheer.
Well, thank you very much for that very warm welcome. It's great to be back in the GTA. When I first walked in the room and I saw Lisa there, I had a flashback to all the leadership debates that we had. I'm going to change my stump speech up a little bit just because my colleagues have probably grown so tired of hearing it. But great to see you here, Lisa and Peter and Bob, my colleagues, former MPs as well, Costas and Joe. I heard C.S. Young was here. Thanks so much for being here as well. And as many of you may remember, I had the distinct pleasure of visiting many of your communities throughout the leadership campaign. And one of the things that I was struck by was, despite the differences in faith, in worship, in liturgy, despite the differences in background and language, where people have come from, and the reasons why you've had to leave where you were from to come to Canada, there is so much that we all share in common. And that, I think, is what the Conservative Party is all about. It's bringing together people of different backgrounds, different faiths, different ethnicities, but who all share a fundamental belief in common values. And that is something that I will definitely take with me over the course of the next few months. You may have heard a lot of different things throughout the leadership campaign. One of the things that you probably heard a lot of was criticism, mostly from the media and our political opponents, who were criticizing the fact that there were so many people running for the leadership. I think at one point we had as many as 16 candidates, if you count those that dropped off before the vote itself. And we saw a lot of articles about how it was difficult for debates because candidates didn't have enough time. There are some practical reasons why the media like to focus on that downside of things. But I like to point out that by the end of the campaign, we had 13 dynamic individuals who are all going out and articulating their vision of what the Conservative Party should focus on, articulating their vision of what Canada should look like in the next 2 years going into the next election. And all the while, these 13 hardworking individuals went out and reached a different group of the Canadian people and brought new Canadians into our party. And we grew our party from around 80,000 members to just over 265,000 members. Those are the kinds of problems that I like to have. Too many people going out and growing the party, too many people raising money and reaching new Canadians with a positive Conservative message. So I want to pay a special tribute of thanks to all the leadership candidates and all of you who may have backed other candidates, all of you who saw something in an individual that you worked hard for, you got behind, and you took part in the democratic process. That's what makes our party strong and vibrant. So thank you to all of you who got involved. So tonight, I believe the main topic tonight is on religious freedom and the challenges facing people all over the world who find themselves in a minority position being part of a faith group in a particular country. I think it's fitting that we're having this meeting at a Coptic church, and I want to thank our hosts in the Coptic community for allowing us to do this here tonight, because, of course, the Christian church in Egypt was founded on people fleeing religious persecution, wasn't it? The flight into Egypt was all about having to leave because of faith, because of religion, the persecution that the Holy Family was facing under Herod. That is the genesis of the Christian community in Egypt, and of course we welcome them in Canada, and we stand in solidarity with our Coptic brothers and sisters who face persecution and loss of life at home just simply for believing in what they believe in and fighting for what they believe in. So thank you very much for hosting us this evening. I know there are probably a lot of questions we'd like to get to, so I'm going to speak for a few minutes and then throw the floor open to questions, because I'd love to hear from you and talk about some of the things that the Conservative Party of Canada and your elected members of Parliament can do to fight for some of these issues, to work together on those areas where we do have common ground. And another thing I learned during the leadership campaign was how many people are conservative but may not realize that. And I'm sure you all know people in your communities who don't like the idea that the government is borrowing money from my kids and your kids to pay for their spending today. They don't like the idea that taxes are going up, that it's harder and harder for businesses to expand and hire new people because payroll taxes are making it more expensive just to hire people at their stores, factories, or restaurants or other places of business. You probably know lots of people in your community who are worried about the safety of our communities, who don't like the idea that multiple repeat offenders are being let out of prison, they're being released into the community without any rehabilitation plan and are likely to reoffend. And the answer that many police forces and levels of government are left with is simply warning you that there are dangerous people in your community, and stay alert and be safe, because these people are. You probably know a lot of people that aren't happy and are not satisfied with that situation. You're probably aware of a lot of people who criticize foreign policy that has lost its way, that think back to when we had a conservative government with a strong, principled foreign policy that was all about standing up for what was right around the world, regardless of where the criticism came from, not worried about public opinion at the United Nations or other international conferences, but always had foreign policies anchored in principle. You probably know lots of people that share all of those views, but yet may vote Liberal. And they may vote Liberal just because of tradition or who was in power when their family first came to Canada. So our challenge, the challenge that our MPs have, our candidates who are going to be fighting in the next election, is to help Canadians from all walks of life and all backgrounds, and especially new Canadians, to realize that their values are our values, and conservative values are the types of things that create prosperity and create a strong society that people want to move to. Because let's be clear about one thing. Nobody moves to Canada for the weather. If you've been here for more than one winter, you know that there are a lot of things that draw people to Canada, but November through April in most of the country is not the thing that people flock to. People come to this country because of the opportunities that they're able to enjoy, the possibility of prosperity for their family. And fundamentally, one of the most important reasons is because you know that when you come to Canada, you can preserve the very essence of what you are all about and what your family is all about, your faith and your beliefs. You're able to bring that with you, live them every day, and articulate them. That is a key component of Canadian society. That's why people come here. That is a luxury that does not exist around the world. And one of the things I was most proud of the previous Conservative government, I know Peter has worked a lot on that, is when we opened up the Office of Religious Freedom, when we made that a meaningful role with an ambassador with a mandate to go out and visit these countries and make inroads in these communities, and help inform government strategy here and government policy here to make sure that Canada can be doing more around the world to fight for those communities. That was one of the most proudest moments I had as a Conservative, because it transcended just economics and taxes and deficits. Those things can come and go. But those fundamental freedoms that so many people around the world, that is, you cannot put a price tag on that. And And when you look at what the Liberals have done, they are turning their back on all those great accomplishments. Not only have they reduced the role and function of that office and the person who holds that office, but from every aspect of foreign affairs and dealing with crises around the world, it's so clear that religious freedom has become an afterthought. For example, when it comes to welcoming refugees from around the world, and Greg pointed out that my first visit as leader of the party was the next morning at the Chaldean Catholic community. That is a Catholic community that is primarily made up of refugees. That is people who have come to Canada because they had to flee where they were from, specifically and solely because of their faith. The way the Liberals have changed the refugee sponsorship program, they have drastically reduced the number of private sponsorships. Now, we all know in this room, anyone who has had anything to do with a family or an individual who have come to Canada from Syria, from Iraq, from anywhere around the world, you know that when a candidate is sponsored by a community, by a church, a community center, another family, that there is support that goes along with that. And it does two things. It has a better integration rate, a better success rate for that refugee, and it actually captures some of the most vulnerable in the places where persecution is happening. For example, in Syria, it's very dangerous for members of religious minorities, whether they're Christian or Yazidi, just to be in the camps. They face persecution even in the camps. So they often don't go in the camps where they would be captured by the refugee program. And the Liberals have refused to have a comprehensive plan to make sure that we're reaching the most vulnerable when it comes to welcoming refugees from around the world. We had to fight day in and day out for the Liberals to even acknowledge that what's going on in that area is a genocide. They refused to recognize that. We had day after day after day of questions, and they dragged their feet before they would even denounce what was happening as a genocide, because they were too worried about whether or not, people at the UN would okay that we had come to that determination. We had to force them to have a strategy to deal with Yazidi women and girls. That was something that they, again, dragged their feet on. So in other words, they're great at the photo ops. They're great at making sure that they happen to be there at the airport when a family is welcome. Make sure that that picture gets on Instagram and Facebook and around the media. But they're not getting the fundamentals right. And I think it's because they just don't share our deep commitment to ensuring that religious minorities are protected around the world. There are many issues that touch on this here at home. I know there's a lot of conversations going along at different levels of government. But I believe that at the federal level, it's very important that you have a government that understands that the rights of individuals to have religious views, to have views based on their personal conviction and conscience, regardless of what that background is, that has to be considered in the mix. And that all starts, I believe, with freedom of speech. And when you look at how the left in this country has become so intolerant in the name of tolerance, we find ourselves often being afraid to speak out for the things we believe in because we'll be labeled with hateful labels and we get shut down. I believe it is essential that we can have respectful disagreements on important issues, regardless of the area of public policy that it touches on, but that freedom of speech has to be protected. And I've made one of the cornerstone commitments during the leadership race was to take action to make sure that the federal government is doing more to protect free speech, starting with university campuses. Because I don't believe that a small group of very vocal radical elements should be able to drown out and shut down legitimate conversation and legitimate points of view on our university campuses. We've had a lot of social issues that come up in the House of Commons, and there are a lot of people in our caucus that hold different points of view on those issues. It's the leader's job to make sure that we don't divide ourselves over some of those issues, that we allow for free and respectful debate and conversations, and that we recognize the rights of every member of Parliament. Unlike other parties, we don't tell people what they have to believe in to run as a Conservative or to be a Conservative MP. But a leader's job is to focus on those areas that do bring us together. And an example that I like to point to when this comes up is we had a free vote on the bill to deal with the Supreme Court decision on euthanasia and assisted suicide. That was something that our leader at the time, Ron Ambrose, made very clear this would be a free vote. The members could vote their conscience or their constituents, and that was upheld in our party constitution, that on those important areas that members would have that right. But regardless of how our members voted on the final bill, one thing that brought all Conservatives together within our caucus, and I believe across the movement, was the recognition that the rights, the conscience rights of individuals have to be protected as well. And whether that means medical practitioners not being forced into performing or assisting these types of procedures, or institutions who may find that those types of procedures violate their core mandate. Conservatives recognize that you can have both a free and tolerant society while protecting the rights of individuals to have their faith and their conscience protected. That's something that we will always fight for as well. So that's the contrast. You know, there are a lot of people in this room who work very hard in their community to advance the things that their heart and their conscience tells them to fight for. We respect that, and on areas where we can help, and we will, and on areas where we can be of assistance, we will, recognizing the limitations on a political party and on the role that we play. But we will always be an advocate and an ally for your right to fight for the things you believe in, to speak out for the things you believe in. So thank you very much for being here tonight. I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Scheer. Okay, before we get to the question period of tonight, I'd like to recognize Stephen Lecce, the former spokesperson for the Right Honourable Prime Minister Stephen Harper, Michael Parsa, and Sharif Sabawi, Ontario PC candidates, and Father Boulis from St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church, and Lois Brown, former Member of Parliament. Welcome. Thank you very much, the Honourable Mr. Scheer. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure, and we'd like to thank the Honourable Mr. Scheer for coming and spending time with us, and we wish him all the best in leading Canada as our next Prime Minister in 2019. Yes, please go ahead. Yeah. So at this point, I'd like to make one more recognition, please. Vincent Key is the Ontario PC. Welcome, thank you for joining us. At this point, I'd like to please ask the clergy to come up and take a picture with the Honourable Mr. Scheer. And after that, the MPs. Or all together. Okay, one big happy family. Please, come on up.
Guys, can you please, I ask everybody, if you would like to take a picture with Andrew, just form a line from that side. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so can just everybody, no, just behind the line, please. Yes.
Hi, how are you? Hi.
Is that okay if we do the candidate?
Do you want me to take it for you? You got it?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.